By the end of this video, there's gonna be broken bones, broken homes, broken hopes, and broken dreams. And I'm gonna be talking about the Wrecking Crew, Marvel Comics' useful foursome that put a whooping on everybody they could. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about Dirk Garthwaite, the Wrecker, Dr. Elliot Franklin, Thunderball, Henry Camp, Bulldozer, and Brian Kalusky, Piledriver. That's the Wrecking Crew, and you better never forget it. All right, let me just get this out the way. All right, She-Hulk and the MCU kind of did them dirty in their appearance, but you know what? That wasn't them. That wasn't them. So don't worry about it, fellas. Don't worry about that gag. That was nothing. They still can redeem this group and bring them in for real. And by the end of this video, you're going to hear my casting choices for the MCU version of the Wrecking Crew with the advantage of a time machine. Let me just put that out there. All right, this is the Pop Culture Cosmonaut. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna get started with the very first issue relevant to this Wrecking Crew. We're talking about the mighty Thor 148. This is the very first appearance of the Wrecker himself. And you can see on this cover here, introducing the pounding power of the Wrecker. And this was by Jack Kirby and the much maligned, the much hated Vince Coletta. Why you hating on my boy, man? All right, anyways, but look at this cover. I think this is dope work. Regardless of what you want to say about the look at the inking. Look at the building crumbling in the background. Look at the brick. That's good work right there. And the impressive figure of the Wrecker. All right, look at his glowing crowbar, and it's got that Kirby crackle going on. All right, that's beautiful stuff. The red sky in the background. The back of Thor. You don't even see his head. You just see the top of his helmet. He's wheeling back with his hammer. Yeah, look, man. The Wrecker isn't exactly, let's say, Loki, you know, on the Thor enemy scale as far as impressiveness. But the Wrecker always, how can I say this? He outdid his lot in life. He stepped up higher than he had any business doing so. Even the name, the Wrecker, you wouldn't expect him to be a Thor foe, would you? All right, but he stepped up. He's a inspiring villain, I think. People really need to look at him that way. He's an inspiration to a lot of super criminals. He stepped it up big time. Yeah, man. This is a cool ass cover as an introduction to a villain. I think it's impressive. The color contrast of his costume, the green and the purple of his mask and his belt, with Thor himself, his colors, as well as everything else going on in this cover. This is great work, man. By the way, this came out in November 1967. All right, yeah, man, this is good stuff. This is a great way to introduce a villain, and back in this era, they had that formula down pat. Let's go to our next one on the list. This is the very next issue, Thor 149. This is November again of 67. They came out with 2 issues in the same month. All right, Kirby and Coletta once again. This is a very different kind of cover than the previous one, though. This is a 3-panel cover, When Falls a Hero. And you see, by the end of it all, the Wrecker is triumphant. A broken Thor lying in the rubble. But you know, Thor got his lick in. You can see that in the top panel at the top there, top right, I should say. And are the 3 panels necessary? I don't know. Maybe not, but I think it is a pretty cool effect here in its own way. I like the deep purple in the background as well. Yeah, man, I think this is a pretty cool cover. It's very memorable. To me, it sticks out from the crowd. A lot of the Thor covers of this era were pretty sweet. I have not covered Thor on this channel whatsoever. That might have to change one day. I don't know, but I got a ton of stuff I want to talk about, and I want to keep talking about the Wrecker. All right, but here you can see he got it over Thor for once, man. Yeah, and then later on, we see the Wrecker reappear in Mighty Thor 171 a few years later in October '69. In this one, you can see well above the city, the Wrecker, the wrath of the Wrecker. And he's got Thor all caught up. This is the work of Kirby once again, Bill Everett and Sam Rosen. I gotta say this, I gotta just get this out the way. This is an unfinished cover. This is embarrassingly unfinished, isn't it? I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Come on, y'all. I mean, even Thor's hammer isn't even colored in. The deadline just came up too quick on dudes at work, man. Nothing except the water is colored in the background. They thought they would just slip that through, didn't they? All right. Yeah, and you know what? For that very reason, I'm going to give this 2 stars. 2 stars. All right. Unfortunately, that's a pretty low score. I know. I apologize. But yeah, I can't give it any more than that. Sorry, y'all. I think we're going to move on to our next one, though. All right. And here we go. Defenders 17. Now listen, the Wrecking Crew's not on this cover. I'm not going to rate this cover, therefore. It doesn't involve them. But this was the first appearance of the Wrecking Crew themselves. They appear in the very last panel. All right. This is, I love when they used to introduce characters like this at the end on a cliffhanger. So therefore, let's proceed on to the actual first taste of what they're all about. That's Defenders 18. All right, and this came out in 1974, September of 1974. Hell yeah, this is the work of Gil Kane, Dave Cockrum, and the immortal Gaspar Saladino, baby. Yes. All right. Yeah, man, this is an interesting cover. It didn't make my top 14 of Defenders covers of the 70s, though. But it's still pretty cool in its own way. But yeah, you see the Wrecker Piledriver getting slapped, getting backhanded by Doctor Strange, just swooping in and backhanding him, not even using any mystic powers. He's like, yeah, I can't get through to this guy otherwise, let me just slap him to sense. Man, that's an insult. Thunderball and Bulldozer in the foreground there, taking on the Hulk. The Wrecker's going for the Hulk. Luke Cage and Nighthawk cowardly lurking in the back. Yeah, let the other powerhouses handle it. Again, Doctor Strange should have no trouble with guys like the Wrecking Crew. I don't understand why Doctor Strange has trouble with anybody. Just teleport them somewhere or turn their weapons into mush. I don't know. I always figure he can do anything, so what can I say? But yeah, this is a pretty interesting cover. I don't know. I somehow feel it could have been better. I love Gil Kane. I love Dave Cockrum. I've covered a lot of their work throughout the other videos I've done. I just feel it's not as dynamic as it could have been. I don't know. For the introduction of this super team, for Piledriver to just be getting bitch slapped by Doctor Strange of all people in the background almost. I mean, it's funny, but I got to take it down a notch for that, don't I? I mean, come on, man. You're making these guys look a bit foolish. And Wrecker's going straight for the Hulk. He's not gonna win that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I mean, that's not a terrible score, but I can't really give it much higher than that. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. Let's move on to the next one, number 19 of the Defenders. This came out the very next month, obviously, in October of '74. And look at this. The Wrecking Crew has triumphed. Okay, Bulldozer looking like a like Giant Man in the back, calling out how the Defenders are done after, you know, the previous cover where they looked like they might have been overmatched. They got the upper hand. This is Gil Kane again, but this time it's Joe Synod on the inks and Gaspar Saladino again on the lettering. I love this cover, man. This I rated highly in my Defenders video. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5. You know, numbers, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, does it? But yeah, this is pretty cool stuff. And this gives you the origin of Dr. Franklin Thunderball. He was a gamma scientist who got caught up in some skullduggery. All right, and so he should be the brains of the outfit. The rest of these dudes, well, you know, Wrecker, you know, he's pretty loyal though. He looks after his homies. He's a real one. Gotta say that. Yeah. All right. So where do we see the Wrecking Crew next? Well, they reappear in Iron Fist number 11, and this is in November '76. Gil Kane, once again, Gil Kane and Danny Crespi. They did this. And damn, look at this. Iron Fist about to get clobbered by Thunderball, swinging his ball and chain down on Iron Fist. Yeah, I wonder if Thunderball was married. All right, he's a disgruntled husband with that ball and chain. This is symbolic. All right. But yeah, Bulldozer in the back. He's got a shirt now. Show that martial arts punk some real pounding. All right. And then Iron Fist thinking. He's got the thought bubble going. There's a lot of word bubbles here. Squash him, Thunderball. Iron Fist thinking to himself. And then watch out for the Wrecking Crew in the bottom. Do y'all think that all of this stuff ruins the cover? I don't know. I think for some covers it works. I think for this one it works. I think it captures the spirit of the cover. I dig it. Sometimes excessive word bubbles, or even one word bubble, is one too many. This one is okay. Let's live with it. I'm gonna give it a solid 4 stars. This is a pretty cool cover. I like the red sky in the background turning into a pinkish kind of color. It's pretty cool. I like covers where the hero is in peril, and Iron Fist is definitely in a spot of trouble here. Yeah, and look at that effect of Thunderball's the trail of energy coming off his weapon, and it's going over the word mark of Iron Fist. That's pretty cool. Hell yeah. Let's go on to our next one. This is a bit of a jump in time. This is Mighty Thor 304. This came out in November in 1980. This is the work of Kevin Pollard. All right, Joe Rubinstein and of course Mr. Saladino once again. Look at this one. Look at this one. Thor twirling his hammer as he's basically cornered by all 4 members of the Wrecking Crew. Bulldozer ready to charge. Thunderball's ball looks bigger than ever. The Wrecker's teeth look more out of sorts than ever. But this is it, boys. Waste him. And then Piledriver getting ready to throw hands. Didn't he? He's the only one who doesn't have a real gimmick, right? He should have something else going on for him. Piledriver, come on. All right, and as it says in the bottom, it had to happen. Thor tackles the combined might of Bulldozer, Piledriver, Wrecker, and Thunderball, the Wrecking Crew. Yeah, I mean, he's done this several times. Again, very, very unusual enemies for Thor in particular, but I mean, they're not just Thor enemies, obviously. They fight them all in Marvel, and that's the beauty of the Wrecking Crew. They could fight anybody in any story, and it makes sense. They're to be taken seriously, but they're always beatable, you know, and they always tend to make a more grounded story, I'll say. And they have some humor going on with them too. They're an interesting crew. Yeah. But yeah, this cover, there's a lot of action going on. There's really a lot of cool stuff happening here. If there's one complaint I have, it's that weird yellowish, beigeish background. Any other color would have been perfectly fine. You know, green, black, white, yellow, purple, whatever. Just not an ugly color. There's no reason to use a color like that ever. I'm sorry. But yeah, we're gonna go on to the next one here. All right, now this is an infamous issue. All right, this is Avengers 274. This one came out in September of '86. All right, now this is the Masters of Evil takeover of Avengers Mansion under siege. All right, and they took over the mansion in the previous issue. All right, but on this one we clearly see the Wrecking Crew involved in this beatdown of Hercules. All right, yeah, man, the Wrecking Crew, part of this heavy hitters crew. You know, there's Goliath, there's Mr. Hyde, there's Tiger Shark. These are all very, 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 you know, like I forget the tonnage of what they can lift, because I know Marvel Universe used to have that. But minimum is the weakest guy out of those non-Wrecking Crew members is probably Mr. Hyde. And look at him. Mr. Hyde is the most vicious of them all, probably. But yeah, the Wrecking Crew, you know, Piledriver got the rear naked choke, or trying to sink in the rear naked choke on Hercules. But you see Wrecker got his crowbar handled, Thunderball coming at him, Bulldozer in the background. I always loved this cover. It's classic, it's memorable. It's a 4.5 star cover. And the Wrecking Crew, again, this is, I'm not rating this as an Avengers cover. I'm rating this as a Wrecking Crew cover. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they're over here. They got presence. They're part of a big group here. They're no joke. Yeah. All right. And the next one I want to show here, Avengers 277. Yeah, man, this is the end of the Masters of Evil saga at Avengers Mansion. You know, this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Avengers cover of all time. This is one of my favorite issues of all time. That's kind of irrelevant to this list, though, because we're talking about the Wrecking Crew and their history. Regardless of all that, the Wrecker you see in the top part of the rubble, he's done. He's out of it. Along with the others here, Blackout, Dr. Druid, Goliath, Thor, as Baron Zemo and Captain America fight to the end, the bitter end. But yeah, man, in this issue, Wrecker has a ridiculous fight with Captain America. It is one of the most beautifully drawn comics of all time. I put this up against anything. I don't care. All right, let me just say that, man. This is great stuff. I give this, to me, this is a 5-star cover. I don't give a damn what nobody says, but, you know, the Wrecker is kind of an afterthought on the cover, but regardless of all that, this is a class act all the way. All right, but moving on, what happened next with the Wrecking Crew? Well, they show up again in Spectacular Spider-Man 125. This issue came out in January '87, so it's literally just like a month or so after the Masters of Evil stuff was wrapping up. All right, and I believe it's in this issue or the next one, they actually talk about joining up with the Masters of Evil. They actually discuss that part. But anyways, this cover itself, wrecking havoc. Spider-Woman is on the cover. Where the hell is Spider-Man? And it's the all-new Spider-Woman, as it says here, in the black and white costume. Yeah, I don't know. To me, this cover is, it's a bit so-so. I don't think there's anything all that special about it. It's Bob Hall and Al Milgrom. I don't know. To me, it's, what can I say? I think I can really only give this a 3. I can only give this a 3. I don't think what I'm seeing out of the Wrecking Crew is all that unique or interesting. And Spider-Woman herself, not that interesting. But it's not bad. But yeah, 3 is as high as I can go. Yeah. And actually, you know what's interesting? These issues in the next one here, Spider-Man 126. You see Wrecker's softer side as he's caring for his ill mother. Or at least he's, you know, talking to her at times in these issues, communicating with her. So you see a different side of the dude. And then you see some treachery going on with Thunderball too. Yeah. You'll see in the panels. But anyways, the cover. What about the cover of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man 126? So we still see Spider-Woman guest starring, and you see it in the word mark at the top. She's getting even billing with Spider-Man. Yeah, the Wrecker taking a big swing at Spidey in the black and white costume. Taking on both of them, but you don't see the rest of the Wrecking Crew on this cover. This one was by Al Milgrom by himself. It's not bad. It's an alright cover. I'm just gonna give it a 3, I think. A bit disappointing, but so be it, man. The Wrecking Crew deserves better. They deserve better. Alright, we gotta move on to the next one, man. Alright. This is the Mighty Thor 383, and I love this cover, man, and I covered this in my Kang Timeless Covers video. Alright, and you see Kang hiding in the back like a biatch. Look at him. But you see the Wrecker, okay? You see Piledriver, and you see Bulldozer. They're on the front lines. Dr. Doom standing in front, pointing at Thor. And then you see, of course, Titania, the Absorbing Man, Ultron. But yeah, man, the Wrecking Crew, they're always ready for a rumble, man. They're always ready to throw down. All right, the Enchantress in the back, working her magic. This is a fantastic cover. This is a beautiful piece of art, beautiful piece of work. Man. I don't know, if I'm inconsistent with my own ratings. I don't think I gave this stars before. I don't remember where I rated it in my Kang video, but I think I gotta give this 4.5. When I look at this cover each time, it just pops, man. The colors of all the characters and the Enchantress in the back, shining and glowing over the black background. This is some cool stuff, baby. All right, and this is Ron Frenz and Brett Breeding. Ron Frenz, I'm gonna tell you, man, some of his art in this time period, in some of these issues, was just fantastic. Really, really good stuff, high-powered stuff. This is a beautiful cover, man, and I think we're gonna proceed to the next one. We're nearing the end. And this is Iron Man 251, Acts of Vengeance. This is December of '89, Herb Trimpe, The Wrath of the Wrecker. We saw that title in the issue that came out in Thor 171. That was also The Wrath of the Wrecker. Well, he's still mad, but this time he's bringing the hammer down, or the crowbar down on Iron Man right here. He usually wouldn't fight Iron Man one-on-one, would he? Alright, but he's bringing it here. He's no joke. And he smashes Iron Man like, half a kilometer away with this one hit. Yeah, man, put some respect on the Wrecker's name. Put some respect on the man's name, why don't ya? Alright, this is a cool ass cover. It's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot going on, and maybe there doesn't need to be a whole lot going on. I'm gonna give it a solid 4 stars. I think it earned them all. Hell yeah. But yeah, and we are approaching our finale in this retrospective of the times of the Wrecking Crew. This is the last one I'm gonna cover in full. This is the Mighty Thor 418. The Wrecker strikes, the Thunder God falls, fear kills. Look at this old school as hell cover. This is in April of 1990. This looks like it could have came out in 1967, couldn't it? This was when Ron Frenz was on his retro kick. Him and Joe Sinnott did this one. And look at Hercules getting caught up here. Remember, they put a whooping on Hercules in the Avengers, in Avengers 274, the Masters of Evil take over. Well, take a look here. This issue is all about Hercules is like PTSD about getting his ass whooped in that moment, and he specifically has a nightmare about these dudes right here, the Wrecking Crew, and then he actually encounters them in real life, and they deal with his case. All right, they handle their biz, man. I'm telling you, the Wrecking Crew is no joke. All right, and you know, Hercules has to be saved by Thor, and Thor has to play some psychology to try to get Hercules out of his mental funk and deal with these four dastardly fellas. Okay, but I'm telling you, it's a unique issue. It's a very interesting read. It's a beautiful cover. I love this one, man. I think y'all should like check this issue out and just appreciate the cover at the very least. I give this one 4.5. Ain't no doubt about it, man. I promised at the beginning of this video that I was going to talk about my MCU casting, all right, for the Wrecking Crew. And I wanted a time machine to do it, all right? So I want to go back to the late 80s. And I'm going to start with Piledriver. For Piledriver, I'm going to cast the master of the Piledriver, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. He's going to be Piledriver in my film. Highly underrated heel wrestler back in the day, man. He was funny as hell. And he could go in the ring. He was vicious and cruel. Hell of a performer. Okay, highly underrated and overshadowed in an era of great sports entertainers. All right, next up, okay, as Bulldozer, I'm going to cast the big man himself, Big Van Vader. It's Vader time. He'd be a hell of a bulldozer, wouldn't he? All right, and let me move on to my next one. This is Thunderball. This one might be a bit out of left field, but as Dr. Elliot Franklin, I'm casting Pistol Pez Watley. Pistol Pez Watley. And if you know anything about 80s wrestling, not except for WWF, you'll know that Pistol Pez Watley had the gift of gab. Let me tell you something. He was a master of that. All right. He knew how to get rambunctious all up in there. He brought that rowdiness. All right. And let's move on to our next one. All right. Who would be the Wrecker? The Wrecker. Well, I nominate the rowdy one himself, Rowdy Roddy Piper. He'd make a hell of a wrecker, don't you think? All right, so what do you think of my casting of the Wrecking Crew? They're all wrestlers, because that's how I thought of these dudes. You know what I'm saying? They came off like wrestlers to me, and that's a beautiful thing, in my opinion. Okay, they've always been entertaining. They're always welcome in any comic book. Let me know what you think of the Wrecking Crew